Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for the Isle of Pingo Pongo, released in 1938. It's the 201st in the series and it's directed by Tex Avery. It's also the 6th in the infamous Censored 11 series of cartoons. As such, there is no official release of this short. Now, in case you haven't seen this one, I can't show you the full thing here due to copyright, but basically a cruise starts from New York and it heads out to the Isle of Pingo Pongo filled with, well, yeah, you can see it right here. So first up, you'll see a re-edit of the original audio commentary I did before I had to take it down, and you will then hear some new thoughts from me regarding this short over things I may have missed. So this is actually, because I've been doing these in order, this appears to be the first travelogue, and I just, realised it. So I was watching it, I'm thinking, did I watch any travelogues yet by Tex? Because I knew that they were coming, but this unfortunate one is, it's the first one. This is actually pretty solid. Like, you got silly jokes like this at Canary Islands, Sandwich Islands, and Thousand Island. And all that, you look at stuff like this and you can see why that, as part of that TV package, that they took out those 11 from that package after I think it's 1968 or something, and it's like, this is not appropriate at all. I mean, the camera gag was fine as well. This is not really,
A common beverage of the islanders is
not really
milk
good.
of the coconut.
See, this part here, I wonder if this part was rotoscoped, or at least a dance reference or something, maybe from a movie, or because it looks very very precise. And we're going to see a little bit of repeated animation. You'll see some dancing girls very shortly, and that's taken from Clean Pastures. So there it is there. Just very brief scene. I do have to agree with my colleague there, but let's take a look at some of the things that I actually ended up missing when I first took a look at this cartoon a while back. So first up, that egghead type character is actually named Elmer, according to this lobby card, although in the short itself he's not named Elmer, and he's voiced by Mel Blanc as opposed to Arthur Q. Bryan, who will take over Elmer Fudd. Whether this is truly Elmer or not, I'll leave it up to you, but based on this rather unfortunate lobby card, it appears this is the first Elmer Fudd. So essentially this short is a parody of the travelogues that were popping up around this time, such as Lowell Thomas's Going Places, and as you'd expect, a lot of that was kind of ignorant in a sort of, oh, look at how quaint these far-off cultures are and how primitive they are and all that sort of thing. So Tex basically took what was already being done around this time and he pushed it to the extreme, as he was known to do. But sadly, that does make this a very uncomfortable watch. So this, I'm not entirely sure of what the reference is. I know it's based from like those photo weekly magazines like Life, and there'll be like photos of celebrities and all that stuff, but I don't really get it. So if you know the reference to this, definitely let me know in the comments below. So the short character there is a caricature of Fats Waller, and this group here, according to Keith Scott in his Golden Age Cartoons book, which I encourage you to pick up if you haven't already, they were done by the Jones Boys and Harland Evans. And the word foo that you see there on the microphone, Bob Clampett did a few cartoons where he would reference foo, which is from one of his favourite comics, Smokey Stover, but I wonder if that's the same reference here, so let me know if you know the answer to that. Now, you've probably heard this line a few times.
That's better.
So that comes from a radio show called the Ken Murray Program, where Tony Labriola would do that line. And if I am wrong about that, please let me know in the comments. But you'll notice in a few Tex Avery cartoons around this time, he actually reuses that same "oh yeah" gag. And this right here is a reference to an actual restaurant that was in Hollywood, the Brown Derby, in a rather unfortunate version of it. But that's where that reference comes from. So this is the first of many what are known as spot gag type cartoons that Tex Avery would do to varying degrees of success. So he would basically have a theme and there'll be just these different gags based on the theme. So obviously in this case, it's a cruise to a remote island. But let's take a look at some of the positives of this short, because there are actually plenty in this one. So for example, you've got that typical Tex Avery, oh, it's just a short distance away, and then of course, we see the literal opposite, and that's a recurring theme in a lot of Tex Avery shorts where, you know, a narrator or someone would say one thing and then the complete ridiculous opposite would end up happening. You've also got some live action footage here, but let's be frank, I think Avery did a lot better with live action footage when he went over to MGM. So this is one of my favourite gags of this short, where of course you expect one thing, and then we see it's similar to what Monty Python would end up doing, to be completely honest.
Intensely interesting is the mockingbird.
Intensely interesting is the mockingbird.
People who know me know that I'm a connoisseur of dad jokes, you know, being a dad myself. You gotta love Mel Blanc's delivery there, and come on, Mockingbird, come on. It's ridiculous. And speaking of dad jokes, well, this should be pretty self-explanatory with the Canary Islands and all that.
Sandwich Islands. And the Thousand Islands.
Plus this beautiful delivery here. Here's another great example of Tex Avery subverting expectations, where you got the realistic deer and the unfortunate native there, but hey, we got a great joke out of it at least. Here's a great gag that points out, well, these two characters shouldn't actually be here in such a tropical setting, you know, they're on holiday. Here we see a rather crude-ish version of a joke that Tex Avery would revisit later on, where he would actually film a striptease artist, and yeah, we get the earlier version of that particular gag. So are there any decent bits, or close to being decent bits, in the native section? Well, I do like here how Avery plays on the fact you've gone from the quote-unquote primitive tribal music to the quote-unquote primitive white rural hillbilly type music in rural America. So the whole "She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain" is sung by the Sons of the Pioneers. Now I get what Avery was trying to do here, so of course he's putting these so-called primitives in a, you know, more complex white game, like in this case the game of football, and you got Tex Avery voicing that larger native there. And then of course you've got the dance scene later on where you've got the so-called primitive version of the more complicated instruments that you'd see in some sort of a band in a nightclub. And at the end we get this beautiful payoff with this Egghead / Elmer shooting out the sun, where it's like, can I do this now? And yeah, well, he can do it now to end the cartoon. As I mentioned on the review for Uncle Tom's Bungalow, this one is incredibly frustrating. It's similar to the level of Birth of a Nation, if you haven't seen that film. Yeah, it's equally brilliant in terms of its technical aspects, but then it's got really bad bits. So for every good gag in this short, there's an equally bad one. So yeah, I'll have to give this one a 5 out of 10. You know, the 5 being, of course, all the really good bits, and the rest, well, yeah, it's rather unfortunate. But with that said, this one is an important part of Tex Avery's filmography, much like Uncle Tom's Bungalow, so it's worth watching at least once to get an understanding of where a lot of what he did later on would come from. But yeah, it's not one that many people probably enjoy because of, you know, the bits that are rather unfortunate. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
Yeah, now.